Hi, Dr. Shivani. Marnie and I are really excited for you to be on our show today to share all of the amazing work that you are doing to show how ancient Ayurvedic wisdom can really transform people's lives, improve the quality of their life, and then, of course, talk about the amazing power of turmeric. So thank you for being here with us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So before we kind of dive into this conversation, we'd love for you to share what is your one non-negotiable to start each day?
Oh, my non-negotiable is always tea. I'm the biggest tea addict you've ever met in your life.
I don't
And
know. You have two right here.
yeah, I travel with my tea. I travel with my raw honey in the little packets that I order. So the tea is the most non-negotiable thing on earth.
Okay, so what's your favorite
kind
tea?
of tea?
Yeah.
I have a couple. So I teach from the Ayurvedic perspective that it's ideal to start with ginger lemon tea to ignite the digestive fire and alkalize and all the good things for us to detox. But when it comes to my favorite teas, I love green jasmine tea with honey. It's like my thing that brings me the most joy. So I built one into my product line that I've developed. And I also have another company I love. It's called Rishi Tea, and they make a phenomenal.
That's our favorite too.
My favorite.
Or one of
I'm
ours.
obsessed. And so everyone sees me carry exactly. That's what I
got
have.
the Rishi tea right here.
Yeah. And so I've gotten a lot of people hooked on that tea because I need one in a tea bag. I'm like a running around kind of girl. And so I love theirs too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, everyone has a story, and we would love to hear your story in a nutshell and how you just, became passionate about the science of Ayurveda and then the healing properties of turmeric.
Sure. So I grew up in Houston, Texas. I now live in South Florida. And I grew up in an Indian family. So every year we'd go to India. We would spend like the summer there. I grew up like really in two worlds, the Indian world over in India and in Texas. And every single time we traveled, or really in my daily life, I was constantly air sick, seasick, car sick, everything sick. I was kind of like the weak link in the family. And by high school and college, I got really fed up with it because in the US, every time I went to the pediatrician, they would just give me antibiotics. And so I was taking Augmentin back to back, month after month, because I would just get these chronic colds. No one could really figure out why. And then every time I went to India, I'd get these horrible stomach issues and they'd give me the craziest antibiotics. So by the time I reached college, I like couldn't drink orange juice anymore, couldn't eat anything acidic, couldn't drink orange juice. And I was like, I went to the nurse station at the college and I said, something's wrong. I don't understand. And they said, hey, I think you've damaged your gut lining. I think you have to heal your gut. And it was the first time anyone tied gut, immune health, any of those topics together. And so the following trip when I was in India, we were in this office with this Dr. Gupta, and I was sick to the point of being hospitalized. And he, again, like they always do, wrote this list of 12 medicines and was like, you need to take these. And I just looked at him and I was like, no, you need to explain to me what you're doing to me because I now have to take control. And my family was so mad. They're like, you can't talk to a doctor that way. And I was like, well, you know what? Nothing has worked for me. So I'm going to have to figure this out now. And I said, drop that antibiotic down a couple notches. You forgot the probiotic. I need nothing for my symptoms. And I told my parents, if you just look outside our doors, all of yoga and Ayurveda is here. Can we please just go explore this and see? And so we went on this quest and journey, and I studied under all these amazing doctors in India and fell in love with Ayurveda and realized, okay, I'm Indian, I'm American, I'm both. I think Ayurveda is just so complex. It hasn't found a way to build itself to be bite-sized and utilized. And that's going to be my mission in life. And so that's what I do now.
Wow. So how old were you? You were like maybe in your early 20s when you had this profound realization?
Yeah. And I was studying social entrepreneurship in Boston, and I realized, it's my mission. I want to create things that change the world, but I have to be healthy to do it. So once I fix my gut health and my immune health, now I don't get car sick, air sick, seasick. Viruses go by all the time and they don't touch me. So now that I've built this immune system of steel, I'm like, the whole world needs to know how to do this. Like that's our work is teaching people how to build resiliency and health.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. It's a great mission.
So we'd love to hear more about your specific journey with healing your gut. But before we kind of dive into how you're able to do that,
Sure.
Can you just share like high level? So we've talked about Ayurveda before, kind of as a sister science of yoga on a few different episodes, but it's been a while. So for those listeners who are new, who just aren't as familiar, could you just kind of share like the overall, like the 5 elements and maybe provide a little refresher?
Sure. So Ayurveda is a sanctioned system of medicine, health, and healing from India that's over 5,000 years old. And what I love about Ayurveda is it's a lifestyle, it's a daily rhythm, it's a daily practice and preventive lifestyle that you can input and infuse into your life in a way that then allows you to build vibrant health every single day and bring body, mind, and spirit into alignment, as opposed to just living our lives worried about disease and worried about the end, but never really investing in our true longevity and vibrancy. And so a lot of Ayurveda is based on the elements and on nature and how nature is the most powerful healer. So we teach about the 5 elements and how those are tied to us into something called the doshas, or the mind-body constitutions. And each of us has a mind-body constitution. Vata is air and ether. Pitta is fire with some water, and Kapha is earth with water. And so these 3 doshas kind of dictate our body type, our mental type, our emotional type, like our mindset and how we work, as well as our health issues. And so I have a dosha quiz on my website that everyone can take. And what that does is it'll show you, do you have like a very Vata template? And if you do, that's going to lead to you having tendencies like being the Energizer bunny, running around all the time, mind in overdrive, never able to stop. You have the traits of air and ether. You're like a tornado. Then some of us are Pitta. We're like fire. And we're also like a volcano. So we get hangry, we get angry, we explode, we burn out, all the words around fire. And so we have to treat ourselves like a nuclear reactor. We've got to keep things cool and calm. And then you have Kapha, and Kapha's traits are going to be slow and steady wins the race, one thing at a time. They have a slower metabolism. And so different homework is given based on your template to support you.
Stephanie and I have both dabbled in this a little bit. And,
Yeah.
it's interesting because I used to think that I was Vata.
Yeah.
But I think I'm Vata Pitta or Pitta Vata. Like I definitely have both of those in me, but then I run cold. So I don't know. I feel like I don't really fit into any one category perfectly.
Well, you have a primary dosha and you have a secondary dosha. And so what I like to do is if I do a consultation with someone, we actually take the dosha quiz, remembering back to childhood as far back as you can, because you have a prakruti and a vakruti. So what you were from birth is your template, and then what you are now could be a major imbalance from it. So I was a pitta at birth, and then all of a sudden had kids, huge life changes, life traumas, all these things can happen that can just shift you. And your job is to bring yourself like from shifted back into alignment.
Interesting. And I once saw an Ayurvedic practitioner that like read my pulse on my wrist. And do you do all that?
I don't do pulse diagnosis yet. It's like my dream to go study more and more and more.
Okay.
I actually came to Ayurveda first from the more academic side. So to me, I did a PhD, but then everyone started coming to me and saying, hey, can you help me with my problem? And what I learned was I'm good at understanding what the exact problem is and giving a very clean and clear path to winning. And so everyone who comes to me is like, wow, you didn't ask me to like hum and chant and press fingers in my ears and take 8 concoctions a day. I'm like, no. Let's keep it simple. It's joint pain. Like, come on. So I keep things very clear and simple because as a busy mom and wife and entrepreneur and everything, like we have to keep it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what would you say, you obviously you're seeing lots of different kinds of patients. What would you say is some of the most prevalent things that you see on a daily basis?
A lot of women who come to me who join either my group program or want one-on-ones are people who are suffering with autoimmune issues. Like, I feel like there's certain pockets where, as women especially, we're just not served. And we're seeing this like big rise in issues across all the decades. So you're seeing the women in their 20s. It's PCOS, endometriosis, menstrual issues, anxiety, things like this. And it's like, well, let's heal gut. Let's heal inflammation. Let's teach you circadian rhythm. Those issues can be resolved. Then you move into 30s, infertility, all those issues, pregnancy, postpartum, thyroid conditions. It's like, all right, Ayurveda can help there. Then you go past that. I'm in my early 40s. And so my friends and I are all like, what the heck is this perimenopause? This is not okay. We have to change our diet, our workout, our approach. And then a lot of women for over 10 years now have been calling me on menopause and saying, menopause is ridiculous. This is such a huge shift. And so now that I'm closer to that range, I can see how we're kind of as women just hitting each half decade or decade like it's a brick wall, and then wondering like what's going on here, when really addressing those root cause issues is where it's at. Like addressing the root cause issue is going to help you. And so what I love about Ayurveda is we have a whole umbrella of tools that we teach. I call it the 6 pillars. So we teach detoxification and the importance of detoxing seasonally and annually. And in Ayurveda, we teach about at the intersection of seasons doing your detoxes, even if they're gentle, just to clear the deck. Because each of us, like I said, has a dosha, and certain doshas get exacerbated in the different seasons. So for example, I'm a pitta. Summer season is a season where I have to take it seriously. I live in Florida, and I have to hydrate more, eat more summer foods to keep cool, calm, and collected. When I travel, I don't do beach vacations in the summer to further get cooked and exacerbate my dosha. And if you enter a season like that, beforehand detoxing or post after a detoxing, you're going to support that vibrant health that you want and that accumulation of toxins that happens. So detoxing is big, sleep and circadian rhythm is big, dinacharya, which is our daily self-care rituals, which are also detoxing and gut supportive, are really big. We teach gut health and gut digestive fire. We call the gut Agni, that fire within us.
Mm-hmm.
Then we teach a lot about how to eat, when to eat, what to eat, to follow the sattvic diet to support our health overall. And then I teach the super spices, which is those herbs and spices that we use as our superfoods to help build that vibrant health.
So really what you're doing is you're helping someone figure out their dosha, right? Or their constitution. And then you're augmenting what they do with these pillars. Am I understanding that right? So they're going to eat based on their dosha. Maybe their sleep habits will be based on their dosha. Like you said, traveling, if it's hot in Florida and you're pitta, you don't want to be hot, right? Like
go to Canada, go north.
Figuring out, you're helping somebody figure all of those things out so that they can optimize their health based on what their body is asking for. And maybe they're not reading the signs or whatever it is.
Correct. It is very dosha driven. And then I'm also very data driven. So a lot of times I'll partner with my integrative practitioners or my functional medicine doctors, because I think it's also good to know what's going on under the hood. So I want to know that they are going to get the deeper blood test, the stool test, the DNA test, hormone test, food intolerance test. Like I love testing, but I don't jump into that wheelhouse. So based on the person in front of me, if the autoimmune stack up and these things are really serious, I'll have them go there because I want the serious issues addressed. But here's what's interesting. Every time myself or any of my clients have gone to functional medicine, all of the lifestyle practices that we have to implement, Ayurveda teaches those. And so that's where I see this perfect connection between all of integrative medicine and Ayurveda, because in Ayurveda, that's where we came up with these ideas of tongue scraping, oil pulling, dry brushing, abhyang. They're all part of this ancient Eastern wisdom. And so that's why I like to share it as like a lifestyle rhythm that we can build. Because what's happening is in modern day society, we're so busy, we're so in overdrive all the time. And so my message to everyone is treat your body like a Maserati, like treat your body like this beautiful thing that you actually love, that you want to take care of, instead of crashing it into walls and or burning through all your fuel and never refilling. And so that's where I love Ayurvedic wisdom, because it's teaching us honor your dosha, honor your circadian rhythm, honor your season, and literally build this life-designed lifestyle that supports you to keep getting to do what you want, but also be really joyful and giving along the way.
So much of what you say, I mean, Marnie and I we both are, like we said, familiar with this, with Ayurvedic, but it's so much of what we try to encourage and motivate our clients and through this podcast. And you talked about detoxes. We have a quarterly detox that we run through Dr. Stephen Cabral using his products.
Awesome.
And so love that Ayurvedic, that science also supports a detox, and there's a reason behind it. But I guess further what you said is just in bio-individuality, we all are different. And this is just an easy way going through this dosha quiz. If you guys haven't done it, we'll link up Shivani's in the show notes, is to take this test because it helps you very quickly understand, oh, that's why my husband or spouse or friend or kids can eat this way and I really can't.
Yeah.
And there's a reason. And it doesn't matter, parents out there, if your children aren't all going to have the same dosha as you at all. And I've actually, a long time ago, I'd like to do it again. I had my whole family, my 3 kids, and they were much younger. It was probably 4 years ago, take the dosha quiz. And I could, it was very enlightening, and it just helps me even in my daily interactions with them about what they need, how they need to move their body, the types of foods that they should be eating. So I just think it's very enlightening. And then you've tailored these programs that you have around the different practices based on your dosha. I just think it's enlightening. It's probably also very, I don't know, it's like comforting to know, oh, there's a reason why I can't do this, or my body responds this way, like the different symptoms and how they're related to your constitution. I feel like it's very fascinating.
Totally. Because a lot of people can come in and say, gosh, my sleep just sucks. It's like, no, you don't suck at sleep. That's your dosha. Let's balance your dosha and your sleep will come into alignment. So I have a lot of people who reach out on sleep, and I'm like, I've become this sleep investigator who just dives in with them, tweaks 2 or 3 things, and then they're good. I like to get people back on their sleep rhythm because that also supports them. But yeah, it's so interesting. If you understand the dosha of your family members or spouse, like I'm a pitta married to a pitta. And so if I know that he's going to leave for a couple hours with the kids, I'm like, here's a proper meal. Let me put some carbs and protein in you. And he's like, oh, like he thinks of it as so nice. Yeah, it's actually an investment in my children's happiness. Because if you run around hangry with my children, I know what's going to happen because I have self-awareness around this and you don't. So please don't run out of the house with like a glass of juice or a banana and think that's going to hold you. And so we can really kind of start to manage our households in a different way. Or I have a client, she's a pitta and her fiance is a kapha, and they were living together in a tiny apartment in pandemic. And so when she was in my program, she goes, I just want to kill him every day. I know why. I said, listen, you got to honor the kapha. That grounded man is a grounded man. It's a good thing, but you have to understand how to work with it. So yes, it's very powerful work to understand your dosha and the ones around you so that the chemistry and the energy of the home is better managed.
That's so interesting to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, we all want peace and we want joy and we want health, but even as I build my health all the time, sometimes I get home from work and the kids and I just boom, like we have an explosive car crash together of anger and hunger. And I'm like, you know what, Shivani, change your approach so that, because it's funny, I get to do this all day, inspire the world. If my home life isn't going to be as peaceful, it's not going to work. So now I'm like, here's fruit, here's food. Let's talk in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to go run and have my tea. Let's all cool down and then we get to interact.
Which is a good approach, even if you don't know your constitution, right? Like it's just a good approach across the board if people are angry and upset. Take a time out.
Yes, exactly.
But I'm wondering if we can change gears a little bit and talk about the lymphatic system. We haven't talked about that a lot on this show, and I find it fascinating. I have one of those gua sha stones for the face, and I always forget which way you're supposed to, go up or down or towards your heart or away from your heart. And anyway, I know it's very good for you. And I'm wondering if you can talk about some of those like detoxifying things that a person can do to kind of impact their lymphatic system.
Definitely. So in Ayurveda, we teach that the tongue is actually a reflection of our health. And so a lot of people on their tongue have a white film. They have different areas that are red, different serrations. So the first place I start with is with a copper tongue scraper. So if you take a copper tongue scraper every single day in the morning and gently scrape the tongue 7 to 14 times, don't go too far back, you'll gag yourself. But when you gently scrape the tongue, you're gently massaging all the organs of the body. Because just like in reflexology from Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, all the organs are reflected on the bottom of the feet. In the same way in Ayurveda, we teach that all the organs are reflected on the tongue. And so you're going to clear your taste buds, which is going to help them work better. You'll reach satiation with your food faster. You're going to clear oral health as well. It's supportive of clear oral health. And then you're going to massage all the organs and ignite digestive fire. 4 benefits to to tongue scraping. Then we follow that up with oil pulling, which is also detoxifying. And so putting about a teaspoon or 2 of oil, any food grade organic oil in the mouth and collecting it for about 5 to 20 minutes. I know that sounds like a long time, but this is a self-care tool you can do while doing anything else. You can shower, make your coffee, get dressed. As long as you don't have to be talking to anyone, you can do your oil pulling. And then when you spit out that oil, do so in a trash can, not your sink, shower, or toilets. You don't want to clog your drains in your house up. But these are 2 simple morning rituals from Ayurveda that are very powerful and supportive to the whole lymphatic system and system of the body overall. And then we also in the evening, as part of dinacharya or daily rituals, teach dry brushing and abhyang massage. And so when it comes to dry brushing, what's interesting is Ayurveda taught that there's this invisible layer to the body that's interconnected completely. Now, in recent years, modern science finally acknowledged something called fascia.
Are you talking about the nadis or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, we have the nadis too, which are the energy centers and points and meridians that are all connecting. But we also have what we call this invisible sheath that we're now calling fascia, where the whole body's connected. And so we knew in Ayurveda that by taking a dry brush and brushing the body from feet to head was going to help us detox. And so I teach that as start with the feet, do long strokes, move up towards the groin, because that's your first big port for moving your lymph. Then move upwards towards your armpits and moving like from lymph nodes down towards armpits as well. And so dry brushing is a simple practice every single day as well. It can be done in less than 5 minutes. You can do it in bed or next to your bed, but as a nightly ritual, because it's going to move lymphatic right before bed, which is when you want to detox. The body's going to detox at night. So you're further supporting that process. And it's simple and it's easy and it's not a massive detox that we also have to do, but it's a gentle detox that keeps us detoxed all along the way.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? I thought you had to get in the shower after you dry brushed. Is that not accurate?
No, I mean, in one sense, yes, you're going to slough off dry, dead skin cells. So it would be nice, but I have a lot of people who don't. They just dry brush and they're done.
Okay.
So it just depends on your preference.
So, I've been tongue scraping for years and I didn't know you had to do it 7 to 14 times.
Yep.
So that's interesting. And my kids are actually 2 of my children recently asked me to buy them a tongue scraper. So I will let them know that it's 7 to 14 times.
Yeah.
And then with the dry brushing, can you talk about like with just, I guess, overall lymphatic system? What are some symptoms if someone's lymphatic system isn't sort of flowing and, optimally functioning? What could be some moving? What could be some symptoms they may be experiencing that this would be like maybe I need to work on that?
It's a little tough to tell, but generally, if your immune system is not on point and doing everything you want, if you're catching colds and viruses and things often, then you don't have a system that's working optimally. That's lymph and gut, though. They're interconnected in that way. Also sluggishness, tired, I would say brain fog, anything where you feel slow and like the system is not moving. But most of all, if your immune system is either overactivated, like autoimmune and these kinds of issues, maybe you need to address lymphatic, and or you feel like for me, I can tell when I need a good detox. I'm like, I feel like everything's working slower. My body's working against me. Weight loss is impossible. I don't feel great. Like I feel energy level drop of 10-20%. I'm like, something needs to change. Why don't we just detox, hit the reset button, and I'll be cleared again.
Okay, great. You can keep going.
Well, I was just going to say, I've tried oil pulling. It's been many years. I'm willing to try it again, but I could not get into it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I mean, there's different oils now that are yummier. Like I see a whole company using coconut oil and making the texture more fun, so it's not gross. There's also companies that'll add mint to it because we're used to the idea of minty in our mouth.
Yeah.
And so that's a way to kind of enter into oil pulling.
And do you brush your teeth after you've oil pulled?
I do. I do. Yeah, because I don't want an oily mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually one of the Ayurvedic habits I didn't do forever. And then I started teaching the self-care rituals and I was like, you have to do the thing. Teach it, not do it. So finally I did it and I was like, oh, this is not bad. But I can't do it on a weekday morning because I'm trying to get kids up and out the door. So for me, it's a weekend thing.
But like the tongue scraping, I'm obsessed with. And I
Yeah.
feel like my mouth is unclean if I don't tongue
Mhm.
scrape because I've been
Yeah.
doing it for so long. But like Stephanie, I'm not doing it 7 to 14 times. I've never heard that before. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's cool is a lot of people have different GI issues. Like the whole world has something. So either you have leaky gut and you just don't know it yet and you're building food intolerances, or people have constipation or all sorts of issues. I hear everything. Tongue scraping alone can heal gut issues. I've had people where
really,
that fixed it. And I'm like, yes.
Wow.
I start
oh,
really easy in the self-care habits. I'm like, let's just try tongue scraping and some turmeric. They're like, okay. And if I win there, I'm like, perfect, no more homework. You're all set. So it's interesting where we can go with solving an issue. Even the daily self-care rituals are that powerful.
huh.
Yeah.
So what was
Okay.
the fourth thing? Is there a fourth one?
Abhyang. So
Yeah.
people pronounce it abhyang here in the West. Abhyang massage is where you take oil, any food grade oil, and again, we prefer sesame oil for everything. So untoasted organic sesame oil, which you can get for like $4 at Whole Foods. You take that, preferably you warm it up if you want to be officially great at the whole thing. Oftentimes I don't. I just lay a towel down. I'm like, I'm dry brushing in Abhyang. I'm going to do my Epsom salt bath and take a shower. And if I do that order, I get the best sleep ever. I feel completely reset. I've grounded all my vata energy because I have a mind that runs a mile a minute. So it helps to do that. But Abhyang just means taking a food grade oil and rubbing it on the body from the feet up to the neck generously. So it's like you're gifting yourself the oil. And by gifting yourself the oil, and I always say, like, stick it where the sun don't shine. So, like, between the cracks and behind the heels and side of your ankles, like all the places that are like so dry and sad. And what you're doing is you're creating oleation of the joints, oleation of the skin. Vata energy is that wind energy. So you're grounding it down. Oil on the top of the feet is like a Ayurveda hack where if you put sesame oil on the top of the feet, it'll help you sleep much better. It's an investment in
Oh,
better sleep. And this oleation is just going to combat that dryness that happens in so many of us because we're out there eating really clean, not eating enough fat, not hydrating enough, all those things. And it gives you really supple, gorgeous skin for life. Like when I meet Ayurvedic practitioners, I'm always like, you look 20 years younger than what you just said your age is. That's amazing. And it's usually Abhyang, and you can take Abhyang and also add on head oil massage. So we're very into head oil massage in India. That's why most Indian women have this great luscious hair, is you can take that oil once a week and also apply it to the head.
So
okay. This sounds like a
sesame oil?
wonderful practice.
It is a beautiful practice.
Yeah.
Say
Sesame
that
oil.
sesame oil.
So
We
you're
love.
putting sesame oil in your hair
Yeah.
and on your feet.
Yeah.
If I put sesame oil in my hair, it would be so greasy.
Yeah, it is greasy. It's like oleation of the head. So you can use sesame oil, coconut oil, olive oil, almond oil, name an oil that's made of food. And what you're going to do is leave it on for 10 or 15 minutes. And what
Okay.
I typically do is I'll leave it in as long as I can, 15, 30 minutes, do other things. I'll leave it in like a tight bun so no one realizes how gross it is. And then I'll shower and I'll have to shampoo twice to get it out. And then I'll
Yeah.
blow dry it and then I'm ready for the week.
So tactically, you're putting the oil all over your hair or just your scalp?
It's more about the scalp. But you're
Okay.
trying to really, like when you go to India and do this, it's so nice. I was just in India and they really like massage it in the back because it's like
Oh, sounds
you're
lovely.
stimulating
Yeah.
the scalp. Like so many people have hair loss issues post-pandemic, hair loss issues in perimenopause, menopause, any grief. I had an issue in my life and then I lost so much hair. So it's one of those things where, we love having healthy hair and this is the most natural, organic, simple way to invest in bringing it back in a very healthy way.
Hmm.
Yeah. Actually, I remember buying sesame oil during my yoga training because we went through a lot of these practices and I haven't really been using it. So I have heard of the massage. I have not done it. And now I really want to do it. And even
Yeah.
just putting it on your feet at night, you said it helps with sleep. So what if you weren't able to do the full massage because you didn't have
Yeah.
time to shower, but if you just massaged your feet, maybe put some socks on, would that
Yes.
help?
Yes, you can
Okay.
do that. You can do that. I have a lot of things I do for sleep because sleep is when we rejuvenate, reset, detox, all that. And if my sleep's not good, as a Pitta, you just don't want to know me the next
Yes.
day.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm the
not
same
the
way.
same
We
nice
both
girl.
are, similar
Yeah.
constitutions.
So I have like my deep sleep tea. I have my nightly rituals. Like if I get too far off sleep, I'll do everything I just said to you because I'll need to hit the reset button on my sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know that other people out there have these sleep
Yeah.
things too, because my husband thinks I'm like crazy. So
Oh no, my
anyway,
husband thinks I'm totally nuts. I'm like, I need my perfect bed sheets with my perfect pillow. He's like, no one is more complicated than you for sleep. And I was like, don't you worry. I'm building millions of people like me who are just as addicted to perfect sleep. And we're gonna win because we know how to get the best sleep ever. He's like, evangelist, you're just nuts.
So can you share with our listeners some of your perfect sleep tips?
For sure. So I designed a tea called Deep Sleep Tea, and I put in there ashwagandha, brahmi, cardamom, all the things that Ayurveda would give you to gain perfect sleep. So that's like my sleep hygiene habit where I'm indicating to my body, it's 9 o'clock. It is not, work is done, house is done, kids should be done. We need to switch over into winding down for better sleep. And then a lot of times, if I don't have time for what we're talking about, which is the beautiful rituals of Ayurveda, I'll do a hot shower. So I raise my body temp up and then it'll come crashing down, which is good. We want to be cold for our sleep. I, of course, turn the house temperature down and all those things. And then I also have a heating pad in my bed, which I need to fix that. I haven't seen that thing in a while. But my heating pad is my way to like undo and unwind anywhere that's hurting. I love strength training. So inevitably, like my back, my lower back, my glutes, something is always sore. And so that's my investment in like, I'm winding down, I'm reading in bed for my last 15 minutes, and then I go to sleep. And then I've also recently created these sleep gummies that have GABA, L-theanine, which is from tea leaves, and just 3 milligrams of melatonin. And those have been my biggest game changer because when I travel, or if I just want to take like a 3 hour nap or a 2 hour nap, if I need a nap so bad, I can take one gummy and put myself to sleep. So I'm constantly playing with those different solutions.
okay, that's so great. And we do want to talk about your supplements and all that. But before we get to your company and your business, and you can talk about that, can you talk about the transformative power of turmeric for healing
Sure.
and longevity and what you're seeing in your practice and how it's really helping and transforming your patients?
Sure. So I fell in love with turmeric when I was studying Ayurveda because I was sitting in herbology class and they were talking about how all the spices that we use in Indian food are such powerhouses. Our cumin seeds are so supportive at digesting our food. We have ashwagandha, which we consume. Even cilantro is a heavy metal detoxer and so useful. Ginger, powerhouse. And then sister to ginger is turmeric. And so turmeric, I love because it's such a powerful anti-inflammatory. It's a powerful antioxidant, and it goes after the things that are causing oxidation. And I thought to myself, oh, so it's like an anti-aging tool in the best sense because we know oxidation is part of aging, but it's going to reverse even the things that are causing it. Like that's such a cool fact to me. It's also antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal. And I knew I needed that antiviral, antibacterial part of it on board at all times. And it's part of how I have this shield of an immune system. And so as I was studying and doing my PhD on it, I just read so much science on how turmeric helps our heart health, our brain health, our gut health. Like you name a system, it's fascinating that turmeric is so well received by so much of our pathways, so many receptors in the body. And I'm working with different teams in this country just to study that and understand why, and then we can publish on it and stuff. But it's interesting because out of the entire turmeric plant, only 3% of it is the curcuminoids. And so that's why you see this explosion of supplements out there because regular turmeric in its raw form is effective, it's good, but a lot of people are just juicing it and they're not adding black pepper or any healthy fat to it. And so it's not as effective. It's not as bioavailable. We know that adding black pepper to turmeric increases the absorption by 2000%. And I worked in the lab at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, where the scientists discovered that. And so we've known that for a few decades now. And then when it comes to curcumin, turmeric, the powder, when you take that liquid or that plant-based turmeric and you put it in powder form, you're concentrating it. You're drying it and concentrating it, just like a ginger powder would be stronger than just raw ginger. So when you take the powder and cook with it, again, black pepper or a healthy fat, but it would take like a mason jar size of some turmeric powder to give you what's in the curcumin supplement, because the curcumin supplement is pulling from that 3% of the plant as opposed to the rest. And when you go into that 3%, curcumin is the most effective at reducing inflammation. So the problem is everyone's out there making stuff, but no one's really focusing on how do I drive such a strong anti-inflammatory result that people can actually feel the benefits and see that significant reduction of inflammation. So when I realized that, I built my own formula about 8 years ago, and I really just wanted to prove my point. I wanted to prove that we don't have to take painkillers and NSAIDs at the same rate that we do now, because I wasn't tolerating them. And every time I got plantar fasciitis or I hurt my knee or something, I would take NSAIDs and then get horrible stomach aches. And I was always like, why? Why did you fix my problem but cause a new problem? That makes no sense. And by the way, my stomach's really important to me. Like I can't mess this up, guys. And so when I focused on turmeric in that way, that's what I was able to prove and solve.
So fascinating. So I mentioned this earlier. I'm taking turmeric. I need to go look at the dose I'm taking because I can't remember. But how do you know, like, is there a certain dose that you, like a baseline dose you recommend for people that, have typical aches and pains? And then what about the person that, has arthritis or whatever, more extreme aches and pains? How do
Sure.
you
So
dose it?
it's a great question. So we know, according to the science and all the literature, that about 1,000 milligrams a day is a great dosage. If you have pain, if you have aches and pains, or if you want to see significant reduction of inflammation. And the thing is, most of us are inflamed. Most of us have some form of chronic, low-grade, persistent inflammation that's going on in the background. And the way my professor taught it to me, who was the person who studied on the turmeric, he said, look, in our 20s, we turn on these light switches in our body. We end up causing inflammation, poor sleep, major stresses, pulling all-nighters, drinking too much in college, poor food habits, like all the things. We switch on these light switches. We go through our 30s, we go through our 40s. We never usually, at least here in the West, stop, actually globally, most of us don't stop and detox and turn off inflammation. We just keep going. We have whatever habits we have whatever sleep and food habits we have. All of a sudden you hit 50, 60, 70s, and you're getting these horrible diagnoses and metastasis and huge chronic inflammation diseases. And you're like, why? What did I do wrong? Well, it's not what you did today. It's what you've been doing. And it's what that inflammatory pathway has just been growing and growing and growing and getting worse. And so my message to everyone is, let's reduce the inflammation now. And as soon as you understand it. And once you do that, then let's talk about improving sleep, improving diet, anti-inflammatory lifestyle, and all the work. But it's hard to do the work if you're not feeling great. Like, let's get you feeling great first. And so I recommend 1,000 milligrams of turmeric a day, curcumin a day, every single day as your daily preventive. And you can take a day off a week or take a week off every quarter or every few months, just to give yourself a break from it, because we shouldn't always need supplements on board. I do think that we should be able to get there from food, but not all of us are building our lifestyle to make room for that. And then when it comes to people who have chronic joint pain of all kinds, who are losing function in their hands and their back and their body, then I made a formula called inflammation relief. And so in there, I put all the Ayurvedic herbs that work synergistically to reduce inflammation. So that's not just curcumin, it's boswellia, guduchi, amla, dried ginger in the right proportion of herbs. So when it comes to turmeric, if you're going to buy a turmeric off the shelf, which there's, I'm sure, many good ones out there, make sure that it's curcumin standardized to 95%. If they put all 3 curcuminoids in there and that's what you're getting at 500 milligrams, I don't know the proportion that they put in there. I don't trust it personally. So I prefer that we use curcumin, 95% grade standardized, add black pepper, 4 milligrams per capsule. In mine, I added 50 milligrams of turmeric back in. And in mine, I'm very obsessed with the supplier and how I supply, making it in the US with third-party testing, because my focus is the doctor's offices. I want every doctor to recommend it for inflammation. And then while I was doing that, everyone else just buys it online direct from me. But my dream is, what if the whole world gave us turmeric instead of anti-inflammatory drugs? Like, what a cool world we would have if we saw that natural shift where every doctor was saying, hey, like, I'm going to give you what I'm going to give you because I know it works, but let me also just show you a natural alternative that I trust. So that's been my life's work for the last 8 years once I built the formulas.
Well, we would love to see that happening. We're firm believers in doing all these, more basic and foundation protocols and supplements. And I guess I have a question for you on just like kind of like the daily use, or a lot of people are popping the Advil, Aleve, ibuprofens, et cetera, for athletes. I was just on a ski trip and people are, we're getting older. And so at the end of the day, people are starting to feel it and they're popping a bunch of Aleves and Advils, and no judgment there. I just choose not to go that route. So could you give someone like a higher dose of, maybe take 2 of your 1,000 milligram a day curcumins, or how would that work? And does it have that same instant effect? Because the problem is people want like a quick fix. And with some of this, as we know, it's more about the lifestyle and a daily practice and not the quick, easy fix overnight.
Totally. It's been interesting. The recommended dose on the bottle is 2 capsules a day of each formula. And so I have thousands of people who just take both formulas at the same time, 1 turmeric gold, 1 inflammation relief in the morning and 1 in the evening. When people call me, because the 800 number of the company still comes to me for a little longer, I will personally guide them. And I'm like, oh, you are waking up super stiff and achy. Either you take the second dose late at night, or you can add a 3rd round. So it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then you're covered through that next 8 hours. Because turmeric, it's interesting, is so quickly absorbed by the body because so much of the body can receive it and use it. And so anecdotally, what I've seen over these 8 years is when someone comes with a big problem, it goes there first. It's going to go there till it fixes it. Then it'll go for the smaller problem and the smaller problem. And so a lot of people will say, my gingivitis is gone. My allergies are gone. Like, is this possible that turmeric did it? And I said, well, the body wants to be healed and then stay healed. So the body's going to take it where it needs to go. But yes, I have had experiences where I like sprained my ankle and I'll take like 2 turmeric gold, 1 inflammation relief. So you can play with it because we know that you can take up to 8 grams a day of curcumin safely. That's published in the science.
Okay.
In the fusionary packaging, I don't put that go ahead and party and take as much as you want. But people who understand supplements, who are comfortable with them, get it, that you can kind of move with that a little bit.
Okay, so I'm going to start carrying a bottle around with me. So when people say, oh, does anyone have any ibuprofen? I'm going to pop out some curcumin.
Yeah. And
so
there's so many things. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I hurt my shoulder a few days ago. And yesterday I was in intense pain, like to the point where I was in tears. And I don't take NSAIDs. Like it's not me. But my husband was like, you need to take something. Like you need to take something. And so, and then I went to go take something and we don't even have anything. So then he went and bought some Aleve for me and I did take it and it did give me some relief, but like, I felt horrible that I took it. Yeah. And today I didn't take it. I'm still in pain, but not as much pain. And now I'm like, oh, I do have some turmeric in the house. Like I'm going to go like triple dose myself.
Yeah. You very much can. We know you can take 8 grams a day safely. That's 16 turmeric golds. No one would ever do that. It's unreasonable. Yeah. I myself take a triple dose of it daily because I'm such a fan of what curcumin does. And I know that my family history is diabetes and heart disease, and we have horrible end of life deaths. And that's why I do what I do, is I saw my family go through such catastrophic health events, and I know I need to prevent them. So I do the work, but I also take the supplements to get there. And it's interesting. I always say to myself, don't poison the food as you eat it. And so even with that, sometimes I'll eat nachos and Chardonnay, which is my cheat food and cheat meal of life. And I'll say, don't poison it as you're doing it. Like enjoy it. Yes. Take it in, let it serve you, and then move on.
But I have a question. So like, let's say I do go take a bunch of turmeric after we get off here. How fast can I expect that to work?
So one thing, please note, there are side effects to turmeric. Turmeric is a vasodilator. It increases blood flow in the body. So if you're on a blood thinner, don't take high dose curcumin. It'll be too much for the system. It'll thin the blood further. So some people, it's interesting, call and they're on painkillers and on blood thinners and they still want to take it. I'm like, guys, you really have to be careful. Also, it can cause GI upset. Turmeric is a powerful spice. It's not benign. And so you don't want to OD on turmeric to the point that you cause diarrhea in yourself. So kind of manage upwards with how you dose yourself. And then what was the question again?
I just wondered how fast,
How
like,
fast?
you feel relief. Like, if I'm having an actual pain, can
Sure.
I expect that in 2 hours it's going to be relieved or?
It comes down to your digestion. So
Okay.
I have some people who will take my supplement and by next morning they're like, whoa, that was really effective. And I'm like, okay. And then most people, I say 7 to 10 days, just because you want that cumulative effect. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, if you come off it, that's oftentimes when you know if something was working. So all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I didn't realize it was doing that much for me. And that's how much better I was feeling. So a lot of people call me once they've come off it for a week and they're like, dang, I can't live like this. I need it again.
So interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Turmeric's
interesting.
very powerful. I've been able to cut opioid use in half out of orthopedics. I'm working with
Wow.
rheumatology. I'm working with functional medicine. I wish there was like 10 Shivanis and we could all run at the same time because gastroenterology can change now. The British Medical Journal just published science that said curcumin is as effective as PPIs in the body. And that's a
Huh.
huge
Wow.
journal. So I'm just like, yes, let's go. Let's tell the whole world that turmeric does the thing we're looking for. So I get really excited about it.
Yeah. And I mean, I know you've done some work, I think, with athletes too.
Yes, yes. Recovery for athletes can be very supported. If you work out hard and lift, which I like to do, you
Me
can
too.
take it and just recover faster and get that support. So it's very, very effective.
Well, I'm
Marnie, I
definitely going to
think,
order this. I'm
yes. And I was
all
thinking we're doing
excited.
this, Marnie and I are both starting to train for this endurance event. I think we just need to
Nice.
be taking it regularly from
Yeah.
here on
Yeah, like
out, right?
runners are causing that chronic pain and chronic damage to the system. So we have a lot of runners who take turmeric golden inflammation relief and then they're not taking painkillers. So anytime you are taking a painkiller, you're taking it because you're in pain or inflamed. This is the alternative
But
or preventive.
I was just going to say, like, when you take an NSAID, it's masking the pain, right?
Correct.
Right.
I'm hoping, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the turmeric and the curcumin is actually healing what's going on. It's not just masking.
Correct. And that's the point is why I take things that mask when you can just heal the underlying problem. And it's
Yes.
interesting. Some people will call me and say, hey, I'm taking these opioids for my back. Can I just take
Oof.
turmeric instead? I'm like, no, 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 no. That's different hemispheres. That's like elephant level treatment versus like a tiger. Keep doing what you're doing, but let's also heal the systemic. Let's still do the work of healing the systemic inflammation because it's going to eventually address that root issue, but it can take longer. And I can't always predict that level of pain. And I want people out of pain. Otherwise, we're not happy people.
Right. Well, like you said, it's targeting the inflammation,
Yeah.
the turmeric. And so that will reduce the inflammation, which then your symptoms go away and then you don't hopefully need as much of the painkillers. And the other thing with all the NSAIDs is it's causing gut health issues. So we won't go down that. We've talked about gut health a number of times on other episodes, but yeah.
Yeah. GI bleed. There's really bad side effects. They say nowadays, if Tylenol and Advil had come up now, they would not be unprescribed. They would not be OTC over the counter. They would be prescribed medications. The fact that we can just pop them however we want is kind of ridiculous.
And
Yeah.
at a young age, I've seen many young kids,
Yeah.
be given
Yeah.
this by their parents. So
My family's all in Western medicine, so it's fascinating to watch. I'm like, guys, they're little kids. Come on. So yeah.
yeah, wow. Well, we know we're going to have to start wrapping up this conversation. Can you talk about your company, where people can find you? You have a special offer for our listeners with a code and all that good stuff.
Yes, for sure. So for the dosha quiz, my inflammation guide, I have an Ayurvedic cookbook and lots of other resources. Just visit shivanigupta.com. It's ShivanIGupta. And then for Fusionary, for the best turmeric ever, and for my different teas and functional teas I design, it's fusionaryformulas.com, FUSIONARY formulas. And I built a special code for your listeners. It's Living Well. We'll give them 15% off on their first order.
Very
Awesome. Thank you so
exciting.
much. I'm excited. I'm excited to try this and actually check out your cookbook too. I think
Yeah.
that could be very interesting after you do your dosha quiz.
Yeah. And you can just add more turmeric into your life. That's the point of it.
Yeah.
Well, Shivani, one question we love to ask all of our guests is, what does the art of living well mean to you?
Oh, it means building a life where you have designed every element to be really delicious for you.
Delicious. I like it.
Yeah, like I designed my whole life to be like in this flow. Not that I achieve it all the time, but the majority of my time is like happy and joyful and in the vibrancy I want. And I feel incredible. And it's by design. It's like the self-care habits of tea time is me time and the self-care rituals throughout the day. And so that's my art of living well is building the rituals and habits that help me feel how I want to feel each and every day.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And I love when you said to be in flow, because I think that's something that I'm trying to be more is to just be and be in flow with who we are, what brings us joy. And like you said, designing your daily rituals and practice, not to be high maintenance or annoying, but because it brings you joy and allows you to, show up
And
as your
live the
most
life you
authentic
want to
self. And
live.
yes, by design. I like those keywords that you said. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, ladies.
thank
Thank
you.
you
This is
so
so fun.
much.
Yeah. Well, have a great day, Shivani.
Thank you. This was so fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.